I told him we got 11 more opportunities. I don't believe in improvement between 1 and week 2. I believe in it all year long.
They're going to attack this week. There's no moping around. There's no feeling sorry for ourselves. We're going to get after it.
This is going to take time, but we want it to be sustainable.
It's not a one-game season, so we just have to keep attacking every single day and just execute at the highest level.
When you lose the turnover battle 3-0, you're probably going to lose about 90% of the game.
That's not who the Bulldog defense is going to be for this year.
Good football teams find ways to improve every single week.
All right, not the greatest of starts for the Bulldog football team here in 2025. Steven Comstock again here to join us to talk a little bit more about what went wrong and maybe a few of the bright spots if there were any coming out of Saturday. Steven, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Steven, what would you say is the biggest takeaway from Saturday's loss?
I think the biggest takeaway that all fans can feel is Fresno State can go 9-5 in a football season, not win a Mountain West championship, and we're upset. We're not happy with the way it went. We're not a program that's okay with, oh, we had a winning season. With that, coaching turnover is the biggest killer of success in college football. We've had 5 different coaching staffs since 2019. Some of these guys have played under 4 different coordinators or 4 different coaches. That's a tough thing to do. You know, when you go against a Kansas team that has a 6th-year quarterback, you know, we saw that they just looked a little crisper than us.
Only 216 total yards on offense in this game. Only 37 rushing yards for the Bulldogs. We heard so much about the running game, right, going through spring ball and fall camp. How surprised are you that the Dogs weren't able to run the ball a little more effectively?
Yeah, I was definitely shocked by that. I thought it was something that, you know, was going to be the staple of our offense. It just seemed like that first drive looked really good, and I was really excited that we responded and bounced back after a tough first defensive drive, but man, it just did not look like we were firing on really any cylinders.
E.J. Warner, pretty consistent a little bit of the way, but he had those costly turnovers. What do you make of his performance?
This was something I wanted to touch on last week. He has thrown a lot of interceptions in his career, you know, and unfortunately it happened again, you know, last night. But we need to be able to run the ball, and that's kind of where it starts. We got to be able to take the pressure off that, you know, that passing game. He made some good throws down the middle, I thought, and it seemed like when he started to move out of the pocket was when things, you know, when the pressure was getting to him, is when it kind of started to crumble. So,
I mean, this is obviously a tough opener for the Dogs, for the new coaching staff, for a bunch of new players, you know, going to a Big 12 opponent with a dynamic player at quarterback. I'm just curious, do we need to be a little patient here? You know, with this team, not rush to judgment at this point?
Yeah, like I said, we've had a bunch of different coaches in the last few years. We do need to be patient. It's not a place that we want to be. I don't think, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. The Big 12 is going to be, you know, kind of on par with the Pac-12. You know, that's the goal, at least, is if we want to be a Power 5 school at some point, we got to start performing and we got to start beating teams like that. You know, it needs to be a game we're competitive in and not get blown out.
The defense really struggled to stop the run yesterday. What are some of the points of emphasis that they really need to work on this week as they get ready for the home opener?
I think they need to have their eyes in the right spots. You know, they need to be on their keys. We need to get our feet set in the ground also. I noticed a bunch of D linemen moving with motions, you know, trying to get the front set the correct way. We need to just get our feet in the ground and allow our players to make plays.
Coach Entz obviously wasn't happy with the result afterwards, but he did say that he appreciated the effort, that he thought the effort was there. Just curious, you know, late in the game, some young guys did get in the game. I know Logan Stute, you know, made a couple nice plays for the Dogs. Jaden Pearson, who we'll hear about a little bit later in the show as well. Were there some positives in this, you know, loss that you saw, even if they were minor ones?
I did see our left tackle,
Braden Walton.
Yes, he's a young guy, just out of high school, and he held his own. You know, in his pass set, I saw a few times. I was kind of keying on that, and he did well there. He's going to continue to grow, and that, you know, we've just talked about it. Our O-line needs help, and we need to continue to improve there. hopeful that that can happen for us.
Would you say Braden Walton is somebody that you're excited to watch him and his growth as the season goes on?
Absolutely. He's such a young guy. He was in high school like 7 months ago. So, I'm excited to see where he can go and how much he can grow.
When you're putting in a whole new system and a whole new coaching staff, right? I feel like the mentality that Coach Entz is bringing to the table, the physicality, the running game, is going to play well in the Mountain West Conference. But in game one against Power 4 level competition, big defensive linemen, right? It's going to be tough to impose your will on a team like that. Are you still optimistic about the program going forward here?
Absolutely. We're gonna go play a tough Georgia Southern team, and they're gonna be physical. I think really we just need to shake the dust off, settle down. Nobody get too riled up right now. It's first game. With a new coaching staff, a new vibe. I think everybody's a little freaked out right now.
There was a lot of talk leading up to Kansas. For the last 5-6 months, we've been talking about Fresno State's opening the year at a Big 12 opponent, new coach, new system, a whole lot going on. Does the mentality change a little bit knowing, okay, guys, we're home this weekend. We just have to focus on what we need to do best? When
you're preparing for a season, sometimes you get too hyper-focused on one game. And I know for me yesterday, I was just so frustrated after, like I'm sure a lot of fans are, because you've been building it up, and you have high expectations, and you do feel a little disappointment. But, we're coming back home, like you said. It's time to dump that 24-hour rule is the best thing. When you win, you celebrate it for 24 hours. When you lose, you lick your wounds for 24 hours, and you keep pushing. So I'm excited for us to be back home.
By the way, folks at home, I'm really surprised to hear Steven Comstock say, don't get too riled up, because that's exactly what Mr. Comstock does, is he gets riled up watching these games.
I'm trying to hold it in right now.
Exactly. I'm curious about one thing. It occurred to me as I was shooting the game in Lawrence, Kansas, the Dogs won the toss, all right? They're trying to impose their will, like I mentioned, with the running game this year. You're going up against a dynamic player. You a little surprised maybe that they didn't choose to take the ball? Because I feel like this team really is going to need to play from in front this year with the type of style that they have.
Absolutely. I think that's always, some coaches, that's just their thing, and I've been on coaching staffs where it's like, we're going to take the ball and we're going to go out there and score. I think this season we just need to be who we are, and we need to just stick with it and continue to build and grow.
All right, that's Steven Comstock, former Bulldog quarterback and defensive back. Always appreciate his time here on Bulldog Insider. Thanks, Steven.
Appreciate it.